Hey you guys, welcome back. It's Maddie here, and I have been really excited to find time to sit down and share this story with you. It feels like it's long overdue to share, but better late than never. And as usual, I think it's just really important to share the stories of the animals that we come across and that we're able to rescue. So that's what today's about. Now, there are a lot of sad parts to this story, but the overall takeaway message and ultimately the outcome for these horses was really positive, and they have found a soft landing with us. But I wanted to give you the whole story from the beginning because there's so many parts about this that are important for people to know about the horse industry. So this is the story of Leo, Molly, and Stormy. So the first of these horses that caught my eye was Leo. My best friend actually sent me a link to his listing. He was in a holding pen in Texas. He already had a date set that he was going to be loaded onto a trailer, shipped to Mexico. And this holding pen is specifically for horses who are going to get shipped to slaughter. So I knew that's what his fate was going to be, and I just felt like there was something that I needed to do about it, right? At the time, his name was Otis, but what we found after being in the horse rescue business for a while is that a lot of times these places will slap names on horses to pull heartstrings, and so that they don't have to list them with like an ID number. It just sort of gives people a little more of a connection to them. So his name was, he was given the name Otis by this facility, and he was just this gigantic, beautiful, but sadly very sick Belgian horse that had been dropped from an Amish farm. He was super emaciated. One of his legs was very swollen, and there was this young kid on him in like a halter, I think, riding him around this pen while the guy is talking about him and giving people details. Now, I've already mentioned this, but we knew that he had been dumped from an Amish farm. And this is going to ruffle some feathers, but this is again part of sharing the truth. What we know is that a lot of times Amish, not all the time, but sometimes, a lot of times, oftentimes Amish really just view their horses as tractors, right? So they're meant for a specific job. They will use that horse for years and years and years for that job. And when they can no longer perform anymore, there's no purpose for them, or reason for them to keep them anymore, right? So when their bodies are so broken down from plowing fields and whatever other hard labor they've been doing their whole lives, they, and this happens in a lot of places in the horse industry, not just the specific population, but they will just bring them to auction and sell them for however much money they can get off of them to just be done with them. Now, unfortunately, the only people that are buying these kinds of horses at an auction are buyers who are just filling livestock trailers and shipping them to either the Mexico or Canadian border, where they can be bought per pound and rendered for their meat. So that's a kind of a gross reality that a lot of people don't know about the horse industry. It's very, very profitable to do that. So lots of auctions, the horses that nobody wants, that are broken down, that are skinny, that are sick, that are crippled or whatever, or too old, that's who picks those horses up, right? Now, this is literal days before Christmas that I find out about these horses, and I'm like sleeping on it. I don't know that I can commit to this right now. And I personally couldn't afford to get them out myself. I just didn't have that much extra cash. But I knew I had to try. So I go to my husband, who is not always really thrilled about me coming home with animals that were unexpected, but such is the life of being married to me. And he basically agreed that if I could fundraise the money, that we would take this horse in, that we would rehab him, rehome him, get him healthy, and just find him a place where he could live out his days in retirement and just give him a couple of good years of life after everything that this horse has clearly been through. The problem is, based on his body condition, I knew that we were running out of time. When horses are as skinny as he was, it's actually really scary to try to refeed them because they can become sicker. Their body isn't used to having food in their bellies. Sometimes it can cause organ failure. So you have to be really, really careful. But I knew from the video that if we didn't get him out of there soon, that he would either die there or he would die in the trailer on the way to Mexico. Little one might be sneaking in. Hi, Theo. Come to find out, fundraising the money for these horses was actually the easiest part of this entire process. Ironically, it was like my number one concern, but actually having the money for them was the easiest part. Okay, I got him settled. Now, the story gets better. It's gonna keep getting better and better, but it gets better because then I get another text message that says, oh my gosh, did you see that he was bonded to another horse that was also dumped with him at this facility? And I'm like, no, I didn't see that. What do you mean? So I get this link to this second horse. It's a mare. She's listed as her name being Waffles. And sure enough, they do mention in her listing that she's bonded to Otis, this first horse that I'm talking about. They've both been renamed since being here, but that they're bonded, and you can definitely tell in the video, like, she just wants to be wherever this horse is. So I'm like, great. Now I start to get a little nervous because I'm like, one horse is one thing, but two horses is something entirely different. And these are massive Belgian horses. They're much bigger than a regular size horse. So I started to get a little nervous about my capacity to actually take in them both. But I also felt like what other option was there when they were so clearly bonded, and how horrible to separate them at this point in their lives. Now keep in mind, there was a significant purchase price on each one of these horses. And it's a story, I'll tell you guys about that another time, but not only was I gonna have to purchase each one of these horses, but then I was gonna have to arrange transportation for both of them from Texas to where I live in Colorado. It was going to be immensely expensive to do that. That's without touching the cost of feeding these horses, especially at their size, and for what they need at this point, and the supplementation that they were gonna need, the cost of vetting them to see what else is wrong that we can't even really see in this poor quality video, the cost of farrier care, the cost of rehabbing them, and because they're Belgian horses, they're draft horses, anything, it's like saying that you're having a wedding, the price goes up because of what it is. So they're draft horses, they're more expensive in every single way that you can imagine. Now we could see from Waffles, previously Waffles, now Molly, we could see from her video that she was gonna need a significant amount of vet care. Her left eye, and I'll show you this, has appeared to have had a traumatic injury. The eye is literally shrinking back into her head. It's like goopy, weeping. She has lacerations above her eyes. She has cuts on her legs. She has gear marks on her body where they were, I mean, like literally just recently using her to plow a field or something. And she had cuts on both sides, almost like near where her hip points are. So she needed medical care. She needed to get out of there. She wasn't as skinny as Otis was, but she was in pretty rough shape. So I started a fundraiser the day before, I think it was the day before Christmas. I started a fundraiser on GoFundMe, and I just thought, I'll do my best. Even if I fundraise enough for one of the horses, it's gonna break my heart, but at least one of them will have a happy ending. I share what little information I have on GoFundMe. It's not much. In fact, you couldn't even post a video, so I couldn't even share what I was seeing online. I just took screenshots from this video that was already poor quality, and then basically put it on all of my social media platforms, blasted it to all my friends and family, and I was just like, please just share. Just please share, share, share. $5 can make all the difference in the world when it's coming from multiple people. Please just pass this around. And again, I had like 4 days to secure these horses before they were shipped overseas, and they were going to be sold by the pound to be rendered for their meat. I just couldn't, I just couldn't do it. In less than 48 hours, I was able to fundraise the money to save and secure not only Leo, but Molly. I mean, we had, I think 30-ish something people $5 donations, $10, $20, $100. But what was amazing was it was such, for me, as somebody that's not a big nonprofit, I just have this small family farm of mine. For me, that was huge that we were able to come together as a community and get these horses out of there, especially around Christmas time when nobody has any money, right? And we did it. Otis becomes Leo, his best friend, Waffles, becomes Molly, and I was able to purchase and secure both of them. Now what? They're in Texas. How am I gonna transport these two massive elephant horses from Texas on a 12-hour trip to Colorado? And would they even survive that long of a haul? This was a big what if. This is where it gets even cooler. This is like totally the universe doing its thing. I get this random message, and I searched and searched and couldn't find it because I wanted to put up a screenshot of it, from a local guy here in Colorado on the it was like on the fundraiser, I think. And he's like, I actually just purchased a truck and a trailer in the last couple of years because I specifically want to have a transport business where I give horses like this freedom rides. Can I help you? And we call it a freedom ride because these horses that are so high risk, that go to these horrible places, that have this horrible ending, sometimes they do get freedom rides. Sometimes rescues do find them. Sometimes somebody steps in soon enough to say, I will save you, I will take care of you. And then that horse gets their freedom ride. And that's specifically what this guy wanted to do, and gave me a great deal on it. I mean, hundreds of dollars less than what the other quotes that I was getting from places that were further south, like down by where the horses were. And I was just like, this is just totally meant to be. So he says, you know, I don't think that I can get there on Christmas, but I will get there the day after Christmas. So I purchased the horses, I send the money, they are officially, beautifully safe, and now I just have to get them home. And you're not gonna believe the message I get next. Tune in tomorrow for part 2 so that you can learn about the 3 rescue horses that we transported home to Colorado. That's right, I've only talked about 2 so far. How did I end up with 3? I'll tell you tomorrow. See you then.